Whether you're a Formula One fan or not, there's one event you will be tuning into, and that is the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Before we get into the big parts of the video, thank you all so much. Please hit the like, subscribe. That means a lot for me on the channel, and you guys are amazing. Thank you all, love you all. Let's get into the rest of the video. This Grand Prix is finally coming to Formula One, straight in the Las Vegas Boulevard and around some of the most iconic buildings in Las Vegas, known all across the planet. Even if the track does look pretty underwhelming, the actual visuals themselves will be outstanding to watch. This Grand Prix should bring us a decent amount of action because it does have very long straights to offer. There are positive things and there are negative things, and I want to cover it in this video. My excitement for this Grand Prix is pretty high because I do want to see the cars go down the boulevard, and I think everybody wants to see that shot with the Caesars Palace, kind of like my thumbnail, but also being shown here from Formula One. There are a lot of shots to go over and to discuss about the Grand Prix that looks like an upside down pig when actually looking at it, which is pretty funny. As I said, positives and negatives. I want to start with the positives of the Grand Prix.
Are we gonna take that main
Yeah,
road?
down the main strip.
No.
Yeah.
The visuals here will be outstanding, and we will see the cars going at their max speeds down those straights, literally revving as high as possible because the actual back straight itself is humongous. I mean, just looking at it here, and actually in the Formula One game, you go so high to the point that the actual revs themselves can't take it anymore and the car makes no sound. Now this is a glitch within Formula One. The actual cars themselves will not do this, even with a rev limiter. So from a visual standpoint, this will be a phenomenon, and I think like no track like no other. There are some visual spectacles. The Saudi Grand Prix is very visually appealing, and overall it is a very good racetrack in general to race on, but nothing will look like Las Vegas. Miami has that touch to it. COTA is a racetrack for itself, but overall, the visuals will be the biggest thing here going into Las Vegas. We can definitely rely on a lot of teams bringing different types of race suits and maybe even some one-off liveries. We're gonna see a one-off livery from Red Bull here. We already saw now the Ferrari Las Vegas suits, which actually look pretty clean. I like them with the white, even the shell logo white, as Charles Leclerc mentions. It is pretty fire. But we'll also see drivers coming in here being very happy to just be here. We know Daniel Ricciardo has been looking forward to it.
I was gonna retire. I will not know more.
Lewis Hamilton has said a few things onto it. A lot of drivers are really happy to actually just be coming here because it has been a Grand Prix that in the past was looked at as pretty bad. The actual layout itself, when you look at it, kind of looks like Qatar, and it is not a very appealing Grand Prix to watch either. It was on there for a very short period of time. They stopped going there because the racing was so bad and overall the track itself was bad. Now, while this layout, as I said, doesn't look appealing, it should bring us the cars going super fast through iconic buildings that we have seen through all of our lives. It should look awesome. Now, with all the looks and all the actual positive things out of the way, I want to speak about in general with this Grand Prix, some complaints and some things to kind of worry about. I am excited. I am very excited, but there is a lot to discuss here. If this is going to be the biggest motorsport event in the world, which I really do think it will be this year, counting the Indy 500, because of how big Formula One is, also Le Mans, those are all big events. But this to me is kind of like a standout. Who goes to Las Vegas to race? This is huge here. So let's discuss the negative things. First of all, Formula One as a sport, while it is a classy sport, it has to be an affordable sport. Every Grand Prix this year has gone up, and Las Vegas is just so much further ahead than all of them. Miami was expensive. I went there, it is very expensive. Las Vegas is 3 times that practically. The average ticket price, when I looked, was like an average of like $1,500 for the whole weekend. That is outrageous. That is super high for a Grand Prix weekend in general. You don't get enough time there to actually be like $1,500 is worth it. Also, it's just high. We want to bring in everybody. So now you see that everywhere the prices are dropping, hotels are dropping, people want refunds because they got the hotels when the prices were stupidly high. And this is to be expected when the actual prices are high. Another thing is, this is a street track, so it's not going to be wheel-to-wheel racing consistently like we have in Spa. And my favorite tracks are Spa, Interlagos, Silverstone. I love the Hungaroring, even if it is very tiny. Those are my favorite tracks, all because they're dedicated to racing. And we always get good races there, regardless of the scenery from the outside. Scenery here will be outstanding. I do think we will get some good racing. Monza didn't have a lot of overtakes, but the overtakes it did have were very fun. I expect the same from Vegas. Huge straights, very little corners, very low downforce cars. It will be fun to watch. With no cooling, these cars will fly. They will fly down those straights. It will be very fun to see that. At the very minimum, as I said, pricing. Another thing to go over is that people are complaining about where it is structured. Obviously, it being on the boulevard, people will complain. There are protests going on. People are talking about it in general just being a whole distraction for the weekend. Now, this commonly happens with really any racetrack that is a street track. People complain about it all the time. Monaco got complained about for a long time, but it's embedded into the, culture over there, so they're used to it. But here in America, when Miami was coming along, even with it being half off of a street track, it was still complained about a whole bunch. So now they're complaining here. It's going to be a continuous process. As long as they keep bringing in these street tracks, we will have protests, people will complain. I mean, I would love to have a Grand Prix next to me, honestly. If I lived in Vegas, let me watch it. I'll be more than happy. But I can see where people complain on a day-to-day basis. Imagine hearing all that sound and just being distracted by that consistently. I can see the complaints and I can get the reasoning behind it. Another thing to watch out for is it will be pretty cold over here. It's going to be about 4 degrees Celsius. Now, this translates somewhere to almost at about 32 degrees. It's not, it's more like 40, but 32 is the freezing point and it's pretty damn close to it. So it will be cold. We've already heard people like Lando Norris prepping for having heating in his gloves and bringing some hand warmers. It's going to be a pretty cold Grand Prix. Now, have we had a Grand Prix this cold? It's been a long time. We've gotten close, but nothing to this extent. So the cars will have zero cooling. As I said, that's great for racing, but the drivers might get pretty cold. Nothing really to worry about, but it is an interesting thing to note for it going into this actual Grand Prix, that we're going to get a completely different circumstance. Strategies here could be very weird. I think we are going to see a lot of pushing because the tires shouldn't be strutting as badly, but also a lot of slipping because the actual cars here are not going to be as put to the ground as they should be, because warming up the tires is going to take a minute. So in qualifying, we might actually see 2 out laps instead of 1 before we actually see them go off for their qualifying lap. And last thing to note, I talked about it already, but the actual track layout itself is a bit odd. We will see cars flying down the straights, but DRS trains here are almost promised to happen. I mean, it really depends on the drivers. As I always say, DRS trains are caused because it's just the most optimal strategy you can go with. This is on Formula One. They gotta fix the tires. Otherwise, we would have so many more less DRS trains. It's more in Formula One and really Pirelli itself fixing those damn tires. They're so bad. I really wish they were fixed. Apparently in 2025, something is coming along, so that is hopeful. But we will see DRS trains definitely down that back straight. But with that though, there should be a lot of interchanging of positions. Having P1 after qualifying might actually be kind of scary here, because whoever gets you on the back straight will definitely get a slipstream of a lifetime. I mean, in qualifying, I would not be shocked if anybody takes an engine penalty here that they will be slipstreaming their teammate like crazy. We're definitely going to see a flying Ferrari here, and other cars that have super low drag will be very strong here. It might be a bad weekend for Mercedes, so tune out if you're a Mercedes fan. Overall, this Grand Prix has me excited. Even with the negatives, I want to see what happens. I hope it causes people to watch Formula One much more. The sport is beautiful. I love that we're going here. I really hope it delivers. Let's see if there's any problems inside or out. It's going to be on our calendar for a pretty long time. We'll have to see if it pulls out or not, depending on the people, if they complain too much. There are positives, there are negatives. They got to fix the pricing. That's a big thing. But overall, the Grand Prix seems pretty exciting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. It should be exciting. We're Formula One fans. Why wouldn't we want such a crazy spectacle, regardless of it being very Americanized? Let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.